After hinting that he wanted to disengage America from the Middle East, President Joe Biden is turning to the region for help. He wants Saudi Arabia and the UAE to increase their oil production to contain a global price surge and bail the US and EU out of their oil crunch. But the Gulf countries are not ready to make that call. De facto leaders Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and the UAE's Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan reportedly both declined requests to speak to Biden in recent weeks. The two have had frosty relations with Washington since Biden took office, a stark contrast to their relation with the previous Trump administration. Biden has repeatedly criticized bin Salman over the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in Istanbul in 2018 and refused to engage in direct talks with him after taking office last year. He has also spoken out against the Saudi-led campaign in Yemen, which has cost hundreds of thousands of lives. But Washington needs Riyadh now. A production increase by the world's top oil exporters would provide a much-needed boost to lower prices.
What we're trying to do is mitigate the impact. And you've seen, of course, the price of oil go down a little bit, and the president will continue to look at a range of steps that he can take, whether it is engaging through his team or through even himself personally with big global producers, or it is looking at a range of domestic options.
Riyadh and Abu Dhabi are members of OPEC, a bloc of 13 countries that control 40% of global oil production. Last week, the UAE signaled it would encourage OPEC to consider higher production levels, which led to a slight drop in prices, but no action to increase supply followed the statement.
I think there was just an announcement a short while ago, I'm not sure if it's been made publicly yet, about Emirati support for increased production when it comes to OPEC+, which I think is an important thing to stabilize global energy markets, to make sure that there remains an abundant supply of energy around the world.
2 weeks into Russia's attack on Ukraine, the US imposed a ban on Russian oil, but the EU is choosing to phase it out of its markets by the end of the year, largely because it depends more heavily on it. Russia says it is considering a response.
Energy is our weapon. We should announce limits on energy exports. We all know the conflict between Russia and Western countries is not an economic conflict, but a conflict of principles. This is our weapon, not theirs.
Until now, OPEC has resisted calls from the US and its allies to ramp up production. Last week, the organization warned that there was no single source that could replace the 7 million barrels a day that Russia exports. Hopes of reaching a ceasefire agreement between Moscow and Kiev and easing supply worries contributed to a price drop earlier in the week. But with no end in sight to the conflict in Ukraine, the impact of soaring energy prices will likely continue to be felt. Hadi Al-Alawi, Straight Talk.